Hey there, Sprinkles. This is the total altcoin market cap, and I'm going to go through some PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX predictions and what the world would have to look like in terms of size and valuations if we got there, okay? So the target headlines, you have Pulse 250X, PulseX 70X, total HEX, $1.50. Those were the original targets, but I want to show you what those actually mean and can we actually get there. Now, what I've done is this is an altcoin index, total 3. I have deducted USDT, which is Tether, and USDC. I've deducted the two big stable coins. And if you look on the far right, you'll see it is $244 billion. That is the total size of the market cap today for the altcoins. 240, let's just round it up, 250 billion, all right? Now, this is going to be important because you're going to see that the PulseX, and HEX targets, the base for everybody is enormous. It's literally going to have to dwarf the whole industry. So now what I'm going to show you is the chart for Pulse. Okay, now this is PLS Pulse. It's on a weekly chart. And thank you very much, fans, for subscribing, press the bell button and all. We are here to shock the algorithm. We're going to change the game in a positive way. So Pulse, for example, if we go to this target, and I want to remind you, this target I have of 268X for Pulse was considered FUD. It was considered shameful, disrespectful, FUD. It is the equivalent of spitting on somebody when I was posting this back before anybody was talking about it. And right now, people are still laughing at it. Well, they say, well, that's not 1000X. But here's the thing. This number, if you measure 1000X from the actual low where Richard Hart starts, I know that everybody gets tilted when he measures from this bottom because it's a fake bottom. But you got to, that's it. He's going to measure from this. We just have to accept it. He's going to measure from that part. It's going to say 1000X if it gets there. All right. But I want to have a look at the world if we do get there. Can we even, is it even big? Like, we got to conceive of it first, right? Now, 268X for Pulse. What about for PulseX? If we got a 1000X from that number, what would it be? This is the PulseX chart. PulseX doing a 1000X from the low is up here, top right. It is a 70X from day one sacrifice. So Pulse is around 250X. This is around 70X. That's what it would be. And I want to let you know, if Pulse gets to this number, right, 0.027, whatever it is, around 260X, your market cap, you are 320 billion for Pulse already, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the logos and I'm just going to show you what they would actually be. And here we have the cute logos right here for your consumption, friends. So it would be around $330 billion, around there, all right? Now, this is the thing. I started the valuation for Pulse at 670 million, but because of the extra coins given out there, I think the real number is around 1.1 billion for starting Pulse, which means it would be about 290, 300 billion. That's what the total valuation would be. For PulseX, it would be about, at my target, this would be about 80 billion, okay? And just to remember, this is 300 billion. This is if it did 250X. This would be if PulseX did a 70X, right? This is from all measuring from the day one sacrifice. Now, total HEX, I'm going to put the total HEXs combined because we don't know the ratios. We're splitting hairs here. We're guessing too much. But if they hit $1.50, which is what everybody expects, you're going to have around, you're going to do 90 billion times 1.50. It's going to be 135 billion, okay? 135 billion. So it's going to be 135 billion. There we go. Total HEX is $1.50. So this is where you're going to have to we have to swallow some truths here, all right? Now, we're just going to have to look at these numbers and see, okay, what does this world look like? So I'm not here to tell you one world is going to happen or not. I'm just here to tell you, if you add all of these up, if you add 300 plus 80 plus 135, you get 515 billion for total rich. So Richard Hart equals 515 billion, all right? That's the total ecosystem. Now, that's the thing, right? Look at this number, 250 billion. So today, right now, all the altcoins combined are 250 billion, all right? Now, also interesting, if you go to the coin ranking sites, Ethereum is 230 billion. Bitcoin is 580 billion. So in this world that we are looking at, what we're basically saying, this is what you're saying. So if you believe we're going to go to these numbers, if you think Total HEX is going to be $1.50, and then 70X and 250X up here. If you believe this, what you are saying is combined rigid hard ecosystem will be equal to Bitcoin today, right? So you say in 24 months, everyone in Bitcoin's community that they've been doing for the past 14 years, everything, we are going to have it. In valuation, we're going to have the people, we're going to have everything there, all right? Now, that's the world you see. So obviously, you want to know, is this world going to happen or not? I don't know. This is why we're here, sitting here to think about these, right? All I can do is guide you. I don't know the future, but I'm here to tell you. I can easily come and tell you, yeah, we're doing 1,000X everywhere. I can tell you that, all right? But I've already shown you that everybody in the top 100 wallet sacrifices, if we start doing those numbers, they take over the Forbes Rich List. So you just got to think about how likely is it that you think a lot of people are going to refrain from exiting at certain points for the chance for everybody as a community to enter the Forbes 100. You already saw a lot of people backstab us, right? There's a lot of influencers who are in the HEX movie who are like gone now, not as loud. They're gone. Some of them just like completely gone fully. A lot of people around that time is completely gone, right? So that tells you everything you need to know about the truth about people. So most people are just green candle pumpers when they come out here. At least you have a friend like me who actually cares about you, who's been telling you to buy super aggressively in the depression just in case this plays out in the future and it's much lower than expectations. And also something interesting to look at, right? So I'm going to show you the pHEX chart, right? So something you need to know. If pHEX does a 100X, which is 10,000%, it's 32 cents from the low, all right? Now, you're going to say, no, it's not. I'll say, yes, it is. All right, yes, it is. You've seen Ricardo Corazon's marketing. You know what he does. He goes to the very bottom, and then he goes to the very top, and then he says, see, we've done this much. And you go, well, there was no liquidity, man. There's no reply there. He's just got you muted. He's not even looking at you. He doesn't care. It's just for marketing purposes, okay? So most people are going to call this a fake measurement, but it's where he already started measuring for PulseX. I already said he was going to do this. He was going to do the fake bottom thing, and he was just going to measure it and say, so look at this big number. I made this, all right? So this is something you have to consider as well. And you're probably thinking like, why do we need to consider it? And it's because a lot of people will say, if we don't do a certain number, we have failed. And I will say, absolutely not. What planet are you living on? I know people with 400K in the ecosystem, all right? They are completely happy with a freaking 3X, all right? And yeah, of course, they taper off. They are super happy with a 30X. Now they've got 12 million each, right? There's people with like $1 to $2 million clips, all right? You're talking about like at 100X, man. You've made so many people 100 million. They all cash out. You got to think about this world, friends, because crypto is growing exponentially, but it started with smaller user bases back then. We have higher user bases now. So I've got to tell you, right? This is where you got to, I'm teaching you here, all right? This is why high value content. This is why you share with your friends and family. We're here to break the algorithm in a positive way. I'm here to tell you now, if you are in attack mode right now, if this makes you feel angry, and it makes you feel like upset, you're like, wait a minute. If there's a possibility that we don't hit anywhere near those numbers, I'm going to be upset. This is a signal for yourself. That means you've got to increase your bag size. That means you're not long enough. That means you're dreaming in the fairies of 1,000X, but the thought of 50X scares you. If a thought of a 50 times your money scares you, then I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize, right? No apologies here. You are not long enough. You got to work harder. You got to try harder. You got to increase your exposure. If the thought of all of these going to zero hurts you, you shouldn't be in the game. Okay? There's a risk that all of these goes to zero. With Bitcoin, with Ethereum, we could wake up tomorrow, there's a Bitcoin bug, everything's gone to zero. USD, CSD pegged again, right? All of these things can happen. But when it comes to this is the game we're dealing with, right? So increasing bag size, PulseX, HEX. You got to do what you got to do to get to your target number, because you got to prepare just in case it doesn't hit as large as you think. And I just want to show you an example. So I've seen a lot of comments from people, and they've said, if we don't go and do 5 times the previous all-time high, it's a complete failure. And I will say, absolutely no, because look how the PulseChain launch has gone so far, right? You have not held value against Bitcoin and Ethereum being in PulseX, or HEX, okay? You would have been better off in Bitcoin or Ethereum. That was it. But obviously, if I was to go and replay it again, I would do the same. I would do the same thing. I would sacrifice again and do everything again. We can't possibly know the future. You can't say, well, the future sucked, so I'm not going to do it, right? Like if I gave you a dice and 5 sides were the number 1 and 1 side was the number 6, right? And then you kept betting 1, but one of the times it rolls a 6, you're like, nah, well, you know what I mean? Like you did what you had to do. The odds were like, it looked like that was the right thing to do. So if HEX, pHEX, right? This is pHEX, HEX on PulseChain, the quote-unquote free airdrop coin, if it does a 32x, if it gets back to 32 cents, it has done 10,000%. It has done a 100x, okay? It has done a 100x. So what I'm saying is, what if we stop around total HEX 50 cents, all right? What if it's that? What if this is 30 cents for pHEX? What if eHEX is 20 cents? I know this number, you sound like there's no way this is happening, but I'm just saying, even if this happens, it's not a failure, all right? This free airdrop coin did 100x. Richard can market this and say, look, we did a 10,000%. You got 10,000% on a free airdrop, all right? Do you see how there's a duality here of marketing messages and whatever? So I'm here to protect you, all right? I'm here to protect you, and you can act now. Because as soon as we start going up, I'm not going to be talking like this anymore. I'm just going to be saying, well, I hope you pack your bags because I only spoke about it for 2 years. That's the attitude you got to have here. While you can still make a change, you're running out of time, but you got to make a change. And now quickly, I want to show you something cool, right? So there's something not really cool, but I discovered something as well. So when we're looking at these valuations, this is what I looked at in 2021. I went back to Bitcoin in 2021. I was like, okay, hit 60K. What I did was I went back to many of my original targets and I developed an insight into it. And I said, wow, if I literally went to all my targets, divided them by 3, that's exactly where we landed. Exactly to the T, right? This is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, everything. They're like 10 to 20 coins. Literally all you have to do was divide them by 3. It was insane how that happened, right? Now, if we do that here, this is what happens, all right? That means Pulse, right? If it does that, it is about 70x from day 1 sack, right? If it's PulseX, it's about 22x, all right? Total HEX would be 50 cents. That's what it would be. I'm just saying, if you divide them by 3, and then this 515 billion would be around 170 billion. That's what it would be for the Richard Heart ecosystem here. Now, I'm going to show you something right now. 170 billion. Now, look, as much as everybody wants to believe there are independent, neutral teams coming and building, right now, as the market sees it, we are a Richard Heart ecosystem. It is a Richard Heart coin, okay? Ethereum, you can't say Ethereum is Vitalik's ecosystem. He doesn't care about any of the coins there. In fact, he talks bad about them sometimes, which is funny. Now, if we go and look at other examples, Cardano, which is generally considered to be Charles Hoskinson coin, because anything Cardano is like Charles respect, we love Charles. It tapped 100 billion in 2021, all right? 100 billion for ADA, 100 billion market cap valuation, all right? If you go and you look at BNB as well, so we want to look at BNB, maybe BNB can be considered the CZ coin, right? Because it's all Binance. It tapped about 100 billion as well, 110 billion. It's fascinating how these two coins, both winners, they hit about 100 billion. And it's interesting how the market said, we're stopping here at 100 billion. That's too much, right? Now, the numbers I just did for Pulse, for Richard Heart ecosystem, this number's 170 billion. All right. Now, I know these numbers just keep getting lower and lower, but I'm just giving it to you straight. I'm sharing with you. This is what the chart say. This is what the information is out there here for us. So if you were to be super, ultra, mega conservative, like you're like, hey man, put a water pistol to your head. You've got to clear this number no matter what happens, any black swan or nothing, okay? That means you have to go to all of these numbers and divide them again by 2. And I know these numbers, they start sounding blasphemous, right? So now you start getting into the territory of 35x for Pulse. Now you start getting 11x for PulseX. So that will be a 33x from today, by the way, because our fair value is much lower because the sacrifice was too big, right? That means total HEX is 25 cents, right? Now, you're just going to have to decide for yourself how much risk are you comfortable to take. Only you can make that decision, right? So this would put Richard Heart ecosystem at like 85 billion if it did these numbers. You might say that's nowhere near enough. We can grow much bigger, and that's completely fine. I'm just here to tell you, right? This is what the numbers are looking like if you decide to bet on each world. So I've given you all three scenarios, right? If you believe I'm not even going to entertain the thought of PulseX, Pulse above 250x, 500x, because like if you honestly like, look, friends, I'm very, very bullish, right? But you can't tell me whatever Bitcoin is today, plus Ethereum, plus Tether, you can't tell me PulseChain ecosystem and HEX is going to be bigger than all of these combined in 24 months, okay? So we can say it, but that is a very big, hard chasm to drop. I mean, we're down 98%. Something that was going to grow that big, you need some sort of invention. Like, you really got to invent the wheel. You got to reinvent the wheel 5 times here to do this. So that's the type of numbers and valuations we're dealing with. So, but now you can decide for yourself, right? You can decide where you want to be, friends. So I've given you all the numbers here. Like, it's basically the blueprint is here. So how bullish are you? If you're mega bullish, right? If you're mega bullish, so obviously if you're super bullish, right, you can get 500 billion RH ecosystem, okay? If you're kind of bull, right, you probably divide that by 3, so like 150 billion, all right? If you're super conservative, it might be like 75 billion, right? Now, these are the 3 worlds that are in. So I've presented for you the 3 worlds, okay? Now, only you can decide what they are, right? So in these worlds, whatever comes out in the next 24 months, only you have yourself to blame if it doesn't reach as high as you thought. Because, you know, a lot of people are going to say, hey, 10x is still a lot of money, all right? But it's all about where we're going to land. We don't know where we're going to land, man. We have no idea. So if my dark curse prophecy plays out, right, which I hope we don't, but even if it doesn't, even if we go higher, all that matters is, where are we going to be around December 2024 up to December 2025? Where are we going to be? You know, are we going to be super bullish, in the middle, or pretty conservative poop, okay? Only you can decide. As we get further in time, we're going to have a bit of an idea. We're going to have a better idea. That's what we'll know. So right now, those are the 3 paths, okay? I'm going to top, mid, and low. As we move through the Bitcoin halvening, it'll be more accurate, but still going to take some time. We're going to need to see the Pulse Ramp bridge cross the $1 billion threshold. I think it's done about 140 million. I'm not sure about the real number, but we've got to cross that $1 billion bridged in threshold. A lot of things have got to start moving and going up, and we can't really stop at even these 10x's. Like, we really got to blow everyone's minds. So my final question, what do you think we're going to do, right? Do you think it's going to be the top, middle, or the lower one, right? And I just want to tell you right now, if it's the lower one or the medium one, at least you had somebody to tell you it was possible, because everybody's going to be caught with their pants down. You know it, I know it, we all know it. Like, subscribe, press the bell button, and I'm going to catch you in the next one.